challenge space. Some of them will blow your mind.
Do not deny anything which exists, because if it exists, I'm not in position to judge it shouldn't exist. That's why it may seem sometimes some articles may seem contradictory.
Yeah.
Helping is participation in someone else's well-being without being able to track what returns back to you. Good help implies sacrifice, not more return on your part. The nature of the dynamic of getting more than you put leads to normalizing thievery.
So what's to be done?
The simple solution is
Hi everyone, welcome to the Math of Being Conversations. I am Christina and I will be one of your hosts in these episodes. And this is Mircea. He is the writer and the thinker of this team. I will resume and the role of the interviewer more. This is the first conversation of the hopefully many more to come. And we will discuss in this podcast, in these conversations, we will discuss the Math of Being blog that is created by Mircea. The website is themathofbeing.com. And we will also take questions from those of you watching, or if you leave comments on the blog, we will try to answer to some of the questions that you sent to us. That being said, some words about what to expect from these meetings. One, they are conversations, so we don't expect to have a lot of editing. I think there's too much of editing going on in the digital world, so we will try to keep things real, authentic, simple, and natural. This is a space that we hope it's a reflection and a challenge space as well, because we're not here to discuss politics, but we're also not here to discuss pretty little roses. You will see a lot of perspectives. We are discussing the math of being as we see it, as we perceive it. And, some conversations will feel super relatable to you, some will probably not. Some will be easy, some will probably challenge your mindset from many perspectives. In the extreme way, probably some of them will blow your mind because they will say some things that you might not agree with. The purpose that we're having with this conversation is to really integrate multiple points of view. So we're not here to serve one point of view, but really try to add some perspective to the topics that we have conversations on, even if sometimes they're not necessarily nice. This is also a safe space, and I hope this is a kind space, though sometimes some things said can feel very, very strong. About us, we've known each other for more than 17 years now. And, during this time, we've had many conversations that were very beautiful, very tough, some of them. We've had many arguments. But, it really, all of these really helped us grow, because when you stay there and you have the multiple conversations on, even things you really disagree in the beginning, but you allow yourself time and space to incorporate the other one's perspective, that is the space of growing. So we're here to share some of those conversations with you. We're not English, so you will probably hear words like da or nu, or, you know, words sometimes originating from our native language. But yeah, please excuse us. We're sometimes going to make mistakes. Sometimes we will use swear words, and probably that will be me, because Mircea is really not the type of person to use swear words. And if you come across this space, you might find here some help in your quest in life, in the thoughts that you have, in your doubts, and searches about life. If you come across this space, then probably it was time for you to come across this space. So I hope you find these conversations helpful. Now, moving on to our writer here, Mirta, tell us about yourself a little.
Hello. Um, about myself. Um, well, I'm someone who was always attracted and interested in exploring as much as possible, as many things as possible.
Mm-hmm.
A lot which is regarding how things exist, how things function, how things move, why, where, um, with what purpose, or
Mm-hmm.
generated by what or with through what means. As a general stance of being, my stance was to not deny anything which exists, because if it exists, I'm not in position to judge it shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to look at, okay, let's experience it and understand how and why it exists.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this led to my journey, which is a long journey, which implied many inner and outer experiences. And
Yeah.
uh, in this, everything exists, and if it exists, it somehow has to be appropriate to exist. My model or mode of functioning or being was always centered first towards having the first-hand experience, as in
Yeah.
having the experience of something rather than reading about it and trying to implement it because I read about it. That that doesn't mean I'm against reading, because reading also
Yeah.
exists, just as model. First, I experience it, and then the journey of seeing how other people experienced the
Yeah.
same thing, or how they translated it into form. Um, this led me, after my journey of uh, much, you could, in some cases, even say extreme exploration and
Mm-hmm.
extreme processes. I arrived at how other people indexed and translated the same experiences or the same geometries of existence and of life. And I made it for a while until I was able to do it, like a quest to unify all which everybody said in
Mm-hmm.
this common unified field. Because first thing which you observe, if you had the experience rather than you read it first, you'll see that everybody talks about the exact same thing. They just translate it in a different layer, in a different circumstance, with
Yeah.
different types of instruments.
Yeah.
And as practical actions and experiences with, let's say, involving people, besides my personal life, I have 20 plus years of experience
Mm.
in education, in forming, molding, um, guiding um, individuals and collectives and
And species, I would add. Different
species.
species.
Yes. I also have a deep education process with different species of animals, one of them being cats, the most, the
Yeah.
closest in my life. And they're not so different than us. Um, so I have a lot of experience with interacting with functional models, not
Yeah.
just the theory of them, and not striving to get them in a place which they're supposed to get to a point, but each of them a certain point, an exact point
Yeah.
for the same for everyone. But with each one was about, okay, let's see where they are and let's see where it's appropriate for them to
To
arrive
be.
at.
Yeah.
Yes. Not as a final destination, but as the part which I was supposed to participate in. It's not that after I participate, it's end of their journey. Just I appear or participate in the
Yeah.
part which is for me to do.
Good. But tell us about the math of being, right? So you write articles on the mathofbeing.com, which is your blog, and
Yes.
you've recently started putting all these things you've acquired in life, information and experience and thoughts into the mathofbeing.com. So what is that space? What should we expect to find there, and why did you start writing articles?
Uh, that space is the math of being is a space of a few things. One of them
Hmm.
is reflections.
Cool. Yeah.
One of them is from my context or the situation in which I am in or I perceive the world to be
Hmm.
in. They are appropriate statements or nudges which need to be made. Not
Hmm.
to say that what happens is bad, but everything needs calibration.
Hmm.
So if the the situation is too cold, that's why it may seem sometimes some articles may seem contradictory
Between each other, you mean? Like
between
two
each
different
other.
articles, yeah?
Yes. But let's say if the weather is too cold, it will need a nudge into warmth. If the weather is too hot, it will need a nudge to cold. Both cold and hot bring appropriate things. So
But when
there's
you
the
say will need, it's because it feels like it's a judgment, right? You look at something and say, this is what that something needs. Is it maybe that in some way you look at the situation and from where you are and what you've experienced and how you formed yourself, like to be this accepting, all encompassing, you have this, I'm going to go ahead and say feature of just keeping balance between things. Because when you say they need, if it's cold, they need more warmth. If it's warm, they need more cold. It kind of feels definitive, like
I would
that's how it should be, rather than, and I'm intervening because I know you for so many years, and I feel that you have, this is who you are, like a person trying to find a bit of, or more, not just a bit, balance between things.
I think
It
that as a general stance, we we decided, all of us humans or people,
okay.
that we are pro-existing and pro-life, right? As in, sure, this is a, you can say
Yeah,
this is
I
a
think,
biased
yeah, generally
judgment,
speaking, yeah, I think that's,
but
yeah.
this is a consensus that we agree that we want to keep existing, keep functioning, keep living.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
true.
not. We're not we I can play the role of the fatalist, but that's not the agreement which
That's
we
not, yeah,
made.
yeah. I,
Yeah,
I
okay.
understand. Just really wanted to clarify
So
that.
in this with need, it's a natural conversation between aspects happening all the time. And whenever one aspect, one pole
Mm-hmm.
goes, holds, um, gathers, hogs too much,
Mm-hmm.
even if in its perception it thinks that, oh, I'm winning, things are gonna be good because I am winning, doesn't matter what pole, what wing we're talking about, doesn't matter if it's about living or experience or politics or spirituality, doesn't matter. If one hogs the spotlight too much, the quality or the index of life
Mm-hmm.
goes down, as in
Mm-hmm.
things get closer to dying or to getting stuck or to becoming um, stale.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so whenever this happens, like in any, the thing is that we accept these things all the time in our everyday processes, just in how we look at things about, let's say, bigger situations or more impactful situations, we somehow unclarity
Mm-hmm.
appears. For example, if I have a plant and I don't put it water, I will see that at one point it will start dying. And I will, in common language, I will say this plant needs
Duh.
some water. But at the on the other side, if I, because that's where it gets a little complex, if I put too much water, again, it will,
It's,
uh,
I mean, too little is not good. Too
da.
much is not good. Yeah.
And this is for my personal pleasure. Too much balance is not good.
Well, I think this is the point of these conversations, and probably as we go through, hopefully, the many, many of them, uh, these things that you just said start to reflect in practical ways and in
Yes.
practical approaches of life. Um, because, everything that you say kind of opens a door towards a complex, solid conversation. And I'm my role is to really channel the conversation into one direction. I did forget to mention to our viewers that sometimes it will be difficult to follow. So if you manage to go through a full podcast and understand what is happening, kudos to you. This is really great. You're really doing an effort for self development, because what I loved about having conversations with you in these many years is that they started as being difficult. Because, if you're not used to a language or a way somebody presents things, or a system from somebody speaks, um, it can be difficult to relate or to follow. But by doing that every time, you just start increasing the common vocabulary and the way you resonate with things. So that is self-development in itself. So I just wanted to say that to our viewers, that if you go through this, take time to really listen. Or, if it's too much at once, go to 5 minutes at once. Listen. Once you decoded it, move on to the next 5 minutes. But yeah, I hope you do that, because I think you say a lot of great things, which is also one of the things we're doing these conversations. But now I would like to move to the first article, just to have the focus and the path clear, because the first article that you ever wrote on or published on the blog is about help and how asking for help became very difficult in today's society. And you debrief that in an article that probably takes around 7-10 minutes to read. It's a great article. I really loved it. And what I hope to do now is to just go through the key essential aspects of it and discuss on them. And we also have some questions from friends and readers that send emails to ask about it. So you say there, starting with one of the first reasons why asking for help became difficult,
Mhm.
you say that the first reason is mistrust. And I took some notes, so I'm going to read from the notes, because it's difficult to memorize such a long text. You say that the first reason is mistrust, meaning we live inside a system whose core logic is the capitalization of all actions. Within such a system, help does not truly exist, neither giving it nor receiving it. Can you please explain this a little? Because it seems painfully balanced, but let's just break it down a bit. What do you mean by that? How help doesn't truly exist? What do you mean by that?
Um, First, let's call help as participation
Mm-hmm.
of which you are unable to track the implications and the results.
Okay.
Okay, if we live mostly or predominantly guided by, let's call it, inner software or inner algorithm in which we participate only in those actions of which we can predict and track the actions.
Mm-hmm.
By default, we have narrowed our field of actions.
Okay.
So capitalization mixed with, um, let's call it, the 18th century scientific model, it's all about tracking and trust only what you're able to track. Now, this opens an interesting thing because many people use, let's say, no, but it's scientific.
Well,
But in
yeah, you
fact,
either help or you don't. I mean,
yeah, yeah. But the fact is that even and this is not to diss the scientific method, but
mm-hmm.
when people, let's say, use the scientific argument, it's not like they have access, personal access to the m- trillions and millions of data points gathered through the
Mm-hmm.
scientific methods. They're just referring to what they can track.
Obviously.
Obviously. And what every one person can track by the default nature of how our organism is structured, our, let's say, conscious mind, it's like our RAM's memory. It cannot track very much. That's its nature. It cannot track that so many variables, so many implications. This becomes a denial of all the aspects of even one's organism which he is not consciously tracking, from biological, from emotional. We have so many layers of things which we don't consciously track with our mind. No matter how much we try, we won't actually track them. So when our actions are based predominantly on what we can consciously track, and we will only act based on what we are tracking, we have narrowed our field of actions like a thousandfold, a hundredfold. It's the enormity of how much we've narrowed it. It's
Mm.
hard to put on paper.
But
So
if we go down to the base, what is help and what distinguishes help from exchange, obligation, duty,
well,
or,
I answered.
control?
Uh, Help is participating, let's say it in a in a direction. It's participation without being able to track the results.
Participation in what?
Well, because we're pro-life, and we made this agreement to not take the nihilistic point of view.
Hmm.
Participation in well-being.
Participation in well-being. So what you say help is, like, if we would define it, because I'm sure everybody knows what help is, but just to debrief and get to the point why it's hard to ask for help. um Help is a conscious choice to participate in someone else's life with something that, what, enhances their life, supports their life, because we
I-
discussed about, pro-life choices.
to improve the quality of his life, or
The
of
quality of
his
their life.
well-being. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, we are addressing only a few perspectives because it would be a lot
It's
to say.
complex. Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
but simple
yeah.
helping is participation in someone else's well-being without being able to track in simple forms what returns back to you.
Mm.
And that's why
um
a lot of good help implies sacrifice, not more return on your part. As in, you don't help to get more. You help to sacrifice a part of you which you can afford, let's say, in order to improve somebody else's being without adding any tracker to it.
that is a great point, and I have some questions about that, but a little bit in a later part of the conversation. So you referred to capitalization as tracking and indexing, and this has, according to what you wrote in the articles, three fails. The first one, number one, no real system functions where participation is always lower than the return. Hmm. Can we put this in context a bit? How does this look in a couple relationship? How does it look like in a friendship or work environment? Whatever you want. Choose one.
So we have participation, which I noted as P, and then we have return. And if the system, the structure, the inner logic always functions according to return needs to be bigger than participation, which is the
Yeah.
core. Okay. I can ask you or give an example. Let's say to understand what system we're
Yeah.
actually drawing. Let's say you have 5 friends. Okay.
Me.
Yes, yes, yes. You
Okay.
have
Okay.
five
Okay.
friends.
So this is exercise. Me
Yes.
exercising. Okay.
Yes. So you have 5 friends,
I
and
have
you
five
can
friends.
see
Yeah.
in their eyes or in their approach, their actions, that all of them look at you with this equation. They all want to get from you more than they're giving you. How do you feel?
In my assessment.
So they yes, so they you know,
Well,
you're aware, they all want to receive from you, to get out of
more than
you
the,
more than the, and it doesn't change, ever change. It's not, it's just the inner logic.
and the question is, how do I feel?
Yes, first, how do you feel? Yes.
Well, today's me is one, but if I look at my person for a few years ago, I would say probably I would feel drained, or I would feel that maybe, because in my head, or in the way I assess things, I give more than what they give. I would feel that it's mm, not fair, or maybe even get to the point in which I would feel that it's not worthy the relationship, or it's not worth keeping the relationship, because we're talking about a situation in which you say that would always happen, right? You don't actually
Well,
get to the point in which you feel it's balanced.
no, because the internal logic of the model is, we need to get more than we put in.
Okay, okay, okay.
So it's not a this,
Yeah,
if this is the internal model,
it's
it
not a
doesn't switch.
functional. It's not a functional, but do you think that actually happens in life? Like people are set to get more than what they give?
Well, we know that the
Like
capitalist
generally speaking.
model, the present capitalist model, is, it has to generate more than it puts in so that it becomes
But
profitable.
is that model something that we apply in life and in intimate connections as well? Like
Well,
friendships? Because you
if we
go to
if we
work, it's
if we went through the whole article, we'll see that yes, this uh, spread or flooded to all our interactions, and as in, it's no longer
okay,
a
it is.
local regarding
So
it's
it's
it.
difficult to really separate where that became acceptable, like the kind of feels like you say the workplace, because when you say capitalism, the most close thing you think about is your workplace, right? um
But the article says about the capitalization of all actions.
of all actions. Okay, 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 okay.
This is in
Is
the,
there is there an environment where this maybe happens a lot, like participation being always lower than the return, but maybe it is not that obvious. So you don't have somebody on the other side to say, oh, this is nasty. The fact that the participation is lower than the return. Is there such a place?
where this happens, or where
Yeah.
this, well, by the default mode of people wanting to get, and not a little, but way further than where they are, they will be
Hmm.
naturally motivated to do this, to make the inner model's logic. I need to put 10 hours, but generate as if I would put 300 hours.
So you say this is something generally applicable. There's no doubt that this is naturally happening across all
This is the,
functions and domains.
it doesn't happen across all functions and domains, but it's the blanket which covers the sensation of living of everybody well on the planet. So it's
Or the
not just
mindset.
this
Can you say
happening.
that's the
Yes.
natural
Yes.
mindset? Yeah,
This is
okay.
the
So,
popular mindset, the blanket which covers. But I want to
okay.
take it a little further, you, as in to, because it becomes tricky.
But yeah, just gonna note the question.
Uh, so you said that it will make you feel bad, right? To have these friends and always ask you for more than they give to you, right?
Hmm.
Eventually. Boom. If we bring this into a official systems logic, let's say
Mm-hmm.
government, or okay, so no longer just friendship. What role has society given, attributed to the person who takes more than he gives? It's very simple.
I don't know. I really don't.
He's called a thief. So the characteristics of a thief is that he does some things but gets more than he put in. It can be radical, as in get 100% and put zero, or it can be different grades of put 20 to get 80. But it's the foundational model of stealing. It's the nature of how a, an inner logic of a thief functions. How can I do little? Because he needs to do some things. And there are, and how from that little I get more than I put in. Because it has to come from somewhere.
But
I know this may sound brutal or harsh.
it's a bit radical, yes, because not necessarily. I think it really depends on the space where you are at. And it's a bit, could be understood as a bit of a stretch to call somebody a thief.
This is just because of
Just,
graduation,
if,
because we can call it exploitation or extraction. We can call it different gradual names. But if you, the nature of the dynamic of getting more than you put leads to normalizing thievery.
but it feels like you, how do you measure? Because it's, we're asking about the quantity of your input versus the quantity of your return. And I'm asking, how can you measure that?
We don't need to measure because we're not looking at proving the numbers. We're looking at what the interior mindset is. And we can observe that the interior mindset is how can I do less and get back more? So I'm not here to judge the metrics of it, who put what, who gave, who returned, but the mindset is leading towards that, as in the general mindset, the
And you say
desired mindset is
this is
to,
something that makes asking for help difficult. So this is a reason that creates mistrust and people ask for help
obviously, because
less because of this.
asking for help is the reverse, is if you offer help,
Uh-huh.
you give more than you, as a general thing, without taking it in many renderings across karmic or whatever dimensions, which are more subtle but simple. Offering help means giving more than you receive back,
Hmm.
as a, like a common thing. I help
Offering help.
you. Offering help is giving more than I receive. And if the general mindset is the opposite of this, as in every calculation is made, how can I give 3x but I need to get back 10x? That is not help. So it stops the
So
ability to help. And there's another
so
layer, which we said about mistrust. Many optimized for receiving help, but as a trickery. They don't actually need help. They convince you they need help. So you have one more layer to protect yourself from it. From and so this puts the organism always in a state, in a stance of having to defend itself, because everybody else looks with you with the eyes of wanting to extract more from you than he gives to you.
Now we're entering the difficult conversations, in which it feels like everybody is just playing a game
Mm.
to attain something from you, because it kind of sounds like that. So maybe we want to, I don't know if you want to clarify that, because I don't think everybody is like this personally.
Not everybody
Are
wants to
we
be
just
like that.
talking about like um
Uh,
different, something that is different, spikes, something that is off the chart, or is this a general situation?
to
This trickery,
clarify, to
this
clarify,
thieving, this.
not all people want to be like that. But the
So we are
popular way,
talking about.
but the popular model, which is winning, is like that, and it forces you to be like that, or it pushes you to be like that under the pretense that this is the correct way of doing it. But I actually know people who want to help, but they're afraid of
Yeah,
helping because the extra layer appeared that people ask for help even when they're just playing the second level of the game. It's, oh, asking for help, it's how you get, it's another way of getting more. So there are people
but
who naturally want to give things, but if those things which are given, they're not received and put in fun- to function towards well-being, but to
mhm.
extract, then the people who naturally are helpful, they will have to protect themselves from helping, because it it punish them over and over to help
But you
repeatedly,
also
punish them to help.
say that the moment you demand symmetry in helping becomes impossible, right? So accepting non-symmetric help, asymmetric help, again, I said we're not English, um, is not good. But then asking for a form of symmetry in helping makes helping impossible, because perfect symmetry exists only in static systems, and static systems do not survive. And here's the thing, if we're going back to the example with my 5 friends or 10 friends or whatever it is, or if I just look in life at people I met, once you start making the math about how much you've given and how much you've received, it never, ever, I literally never saw anybody that wins at this game, right? So I am making the math. If I look at my friends and I say, I'm always giving more than what they give. I see friends of mine looking at their circle of friends and say, I always give more than what I get. So I have never seen anybody winning at this game. So what is what is the mindset? Because I'm trying to see, what's the mindset? How do I act? What should I expect? And how do I live my life now that I've put this on paper? I know help cannot be symmetric. I know you cannot measure. I know you shouldn't measure if I go to through what you said. How do I live my life?
funny. The funny part is that you asked me like 100 questions right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
but I'm just
yeah, yeah. So first thing, in concept, society is pushing for a, in declaration, is pushing for a symmetrical model, but in functionality, it's pushing for an asymmetrical
asymmetric.
extraction model. The helping model is asymmetrical, but the other way around.
Does that mean that I say I want symmetry, but in reality, I behave like I don't in an asymmetric model? Is it saying something and doing something else?
When people say that they gave more than they received,
Hmm.
there are a few things. One, a lot of energy is consumed on how hard it is to give. So
Or
it's
because it's never hard to receive.
uh, now it's even hard to receive because you know that there are clauses, unspoken clauses
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
it's also it became hard to receive. So a lot of energy is used in how difficult it is to offer something. So that energy is either used to construct bridges or it's just wasted.
Hmm.
So that leaves a person empty. So what he gets to actually give, if he were to receive what he gave, not the part of
Hmm.
building bridges, he will say, but I gave a lot more. And I say yes, because
Yeah.
a lot of the energy was
Obviously.
built on building bridges. That's why people should also meet together in the process of building bridges together.
Hmm.
Because we cannot, okay, we have to ship these 2 tons of um, uh, rice towards from this part of the river to the other side, but there's no bridge, and we build one builds the bridge. He already gave like 100 tons worth of rice just
Hmm.
on building the bridge. And then another thing, and it applies not to all people but to many people. If I give you something and what you give in return is not just, let's say, symmetrical, but it doesn't move me forward, as in more
Hmm.
than I was, I already feel that I was stolen. So our model says that everything needs to push us further
Yeah.
rather than, okay, we're just exchanging and we're gonna be like this at this level for 20 years. Oh no, you're wronging me because I'm giving you and you're not giving me back in
Yeah.
order to get even further. So we're looking at every participation to generate a form of growth and in many cases
Hmm.
exponential growth. And we confuse growth because growth became the normalized way of being. We have moved the index, the pin, the
Hmm.
pointer from just being to growth is a need. So if you don't
Hmm.
help me grow, you're already wronging me.
Yeah, I understand. So what's to be done?
The simple solution is integrate all aspects. So the simple solution, that's the simple solution. The simple solution is not how do I choose the correct one which gives me the best benefit. That makes us fall in the exact same trap
Place.
as before. So the how many say there's a time and place for everything. There's it's not just
Hmm.
everywhere. It's not just time and place for growth or for return or for symmetry or for uh receiving through asymmetric, as in I receive more than I give, or I give asymmetry and I give more than I receive.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
we look in nature, nature functions with having all its aspects, all types, all the dynamics included, while even our systems, even if we accept it or not, they have to have them, but our mindset transformed in saying, no, I need to have just these two dynamics. Why should I ever give more than I receive? No, I don't want that. Why should it be symmetrical? No, I need everything which I give needs to push me forward. So in order for in order to have a simple solution, each person needs to befriend himself with all aspects. In some situations, I will give more than I receive, and I give it with an open
Mm-hmm.
heart. In some situations, I will receive more than I give, and then I need my pride to not step in. Oh no, I. So there are counters
Compose yourself.
to everything. Some will be symmetric, some dynamics will be untrackable. So if
Mm-hmm.
we just uh, get stuck in one, two dynamics and we force those dynamics to happen everywhere, this just brings a lot more cost on everybody. And everybody's trying to
Mm-hmm.
beat the house. Oh no, I will be the one who I will always get more than I give. And I will be that one. But if everybody is playing the same game,
Well, this is
may
one of,
yes.
sorry, I wanted to step back and let you finish. Um, because you said about winning the house, and you mentioned a reason that makes asking for help difficult in this area, which is scoring, right? Because, and you say, over the last few decades, we have migrated from systems that functions through collaboration and real contribution to systems that function through score. We no longer select what is best, we select what scores the highest. So I'm just connecting it to what you said before. Um, and then you also say, very strongly connected to scoring is indexation and monetization. Hoping I'm pronouncing this right. You say people became obsessed with indexing and monetizing everything, which leads to spending all the energy on measurement rather than action. And asking for help is currently reduced strongly to a transaction. And the question that I have here is, how did we get here? Right? What brought us here?
Simple answer is the very limited mode of forming something, which is
Mm-hmm.
based on the reward function. We
Mm-hmm.
all know this model. Basically, you have two things. One is considered to be good, one is considered to be bad, and the one is rewarded, the other one is deleted. But one thing which we don't know, and let's say being on top of the mountain is the most rewarded thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get to be on top of the mountain, you are the most rewarded, the best thing ever. Just one thing which they missed in this running the algorithm or the model is that
Yeah.
the top of the mountain doesn't exist or cannot function without the rest of the model. So if the desired place is only that which is always hyper rewarded, which is being on top of the mountain, then there's nothing else to feel in the mountain. So you are a winner of nothing, and we are all winners.
Yeah.
Yes. So the full spectrum of roles need to be integrated or let's say rewarded rather than just the one which gets you on top of the mountain, because there's nothing to be on top of if there are only tops.
Yeah. Well.
So if the model pushes through reward function on directed. I need to get to the top. I need to get to the top. I need to get to the top. And everybody's playing this. Well, who's providing the game, the play versus just being in the obsessed or uh, very passionate of getting
Mm-hmm.
on top of the mountain. The top of the mountain is nothing if there's no other roles. And those
Yeah.
roles shouldn't want to be. And I know
Also
people
top.
who, not all people want naturally to be on top of the mountain, but they cannot live their life because their s- range of the mountain is not s- sustained because everything is
Yeah.
pushing is optimized
To
for
get to the
getting to the
top of
top
the.
of the mountain.
Do you think this can change in time?
Well, starvation will change this. When there are only winners, but everybody is hungry.
Hmm. When you say that, do you mean actual physical starvation
Not
or,
only
maybe, yeah, I think you will explain it probably better.
any type of starvation. It can be psychological starvation, connection starvation, any
Uh-huh.
type of starvation, emotional
Hmm.
starvation, meaning starvation. In some areas, it does bring, and presently, it's bringing actual food starvation. We have
Hmm.
this is not this is an actual
Deniable.
happening there. Yeah,
Hmm.
yes, but not only this. Because whenever you're the winner and you're only optimizing for being the winner, well, there's not much substance in it. So you can't actually sustain yourself. The only way to sustain yourself as a winner is to keep on winning.
Or after you win, now what? Yeah.
Well, because you don't have another model deeply in your programming. The only
Hmm.
thing which you know that it's important to do is to keep on winning.
Yeah. Until
And
that
it's
becomes
it's really hard to step down
to
from
keep
that
winning.
and before it to no, not to keep winning, to stop yourself from feeding just with winning,
Hmm.
to find another source of nourishment other than just winning.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes
And
sense.
before
But if you have.
there were people interested in winning. Now the whole society is interested in winning. So it spread. The winner mentality spread everywhere, and everybody is searching to get to be the winner.
But how can we change that? Because it doesn't seem like it's something easy to, okay, you are not, you acknowledge, but then how do you change that? How do you stop that?
You mean systemic applicable or mentally, psychologically?
I think it first starts with yourself, just this quest towards being on the top of the mountain. Obviously, you're being pushed by where society is. And then you form, your natural beliefs and what you want to do in life around this idea because everybody's doing that. So you're being, in a way, naturally pushed to do that. Aside the fact that you see that and you understand that, is there a way to get off, maybe off this grid, off this path of just running towards the mountain?
The top of the mountain. Uh,
Yeah.
in in simple words, a simple solution is start eating or feeding yourself with other things, not just with winning. Let the winning
Mm-hmm.
be 3%. This is, or in appropriate percentage or proportion to also the other things. do do that by yourself, then find people, connect with
Like you.
people which also feed, nourish themselves not just with winning, then establish small collectives, navigate through the global system which is only about winning, with make sure that they don't really see you because they don't
Mm-hmm.
tolerate something which is
Two.
not converting to their model. Even if
Mm-hmm.
it's not like
Yeah.
a conspiracy, it's just a natural behavior.
Yeah.
It's not okay,
Yeah.
Asha. So establish small collectives, communities, which have winning also integrated, but winning more integrated through the form of respect, as in, oh, I respect this guy for being these three
How?
aspects, rather
Yeah.
than I respect this person because he's the winner.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
understand.
okay, you, Christina, are better at me at XYZ. I can transform it into the winner mindset and say, yes, I respect you because you win in those aspects, or I respect you because I am aware that you are more capable than me in that. I don't need to bring winning.
Yeah. Or, maybe it comes from investing more time into something. You don't have
Da, da,
to
da. Yes,
rule at everything.
yes, exactly. So uh, always the solution is integrate more aspects. And we know this in the end, democracy, that's what it was. It was to
Yeah.
integrate more voices so
Yeah.
that there is no one predominant voice in everything.
Makes
Well,
sense. Yeah.
we apply this on because in all the layers of the fractal, so get fulfillment in your life or in one's life from a mix of aspects, not just from one. And it's not
Yeah.
that the winning one is the only, it's the bad one. Any aspect which finds itself being the only one is bad. So it's not that winning is bad. Winning is bad because it's the one who pushes to be the only one. If
Yeah, I understand.
serenity would push to be the only one, serenity would be bad.
Yeah, I understand.
We don't eliminate colors from the spectrum. It's not that one color is bad, but if that color wants to eliminate the rest of the spectrum, it becomes unsustainable and it cannot function because it itself it's a variation of the other colors. So if we deny the others, we deny ourselves. So if winning denies participation, collaboration, it denies and starves itself. And you get to be in
Mm-hmm.
a starving system because everybody is winning, but everybody is starving at the same time.
Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of sense. Um, you do talk also a lot. I told you he'll just jump in the frame at one point, because that's what he does when I have recordings to do. You say that also an important factor in asking for help is gamification, or preventing the ask for help is gamification. You say society has been steadily reframed around a single idea: see everything as a game, not as life, not as a living, unfolding process, but as a game with objectives, levels, metrics, and rewards. But every game is a low resolution abstraction of life. Living is about fullness, not efficiency. And I guess the question I would have here is quite similar to the one before, because when everything around you is built around this center idea, how do you keep yourself centered so that you can look at things differently? It's really, really hard when everything around you works like that to find your space, your center?
I'm gonna answer with a question, and
Okay.
I'm gonna answer what is the difference between a game and a theater play?
The difference, not the similarity. I
The
haven't
difference.
played much games in
No, but
life.
there are some
Let me
structural.
think about this. Wow, this is really a hard question.
I can help you. I think I can.
I don't want you to help me, but this is a hard question. A difference. Well, I don't know. I really don't know.
It just seems hidden, but a game's main characteristic, in the end, you have the split between the two hemispheres of the brain or of processing. And a game's
What?
main characteristic is of getting from A to B. If you play
So
Monopoly,
is a play. So is a
no.
play.
A play is about bringing all aspects together to make the field of, let's call it simple beauty. The point, you don't start a play, you don't have
Isn't that the
Hamlet
same?
to get to the end of the play. You're having the play to
I
be
feel like we're comparing apples with strawberries. I just like the point of view is not similar, but I'll go with your lead because I understand what you mean, but it doesn't feel like it has the same reference point. So yeah, I'm just trying to
we can
excuse my
call it
stupidness.
in
I'm
there's two
fighting
different
for it.
phenomenons. There's the phenomenon in which the point is to get from A to B, and there's the phenomenon of which nature is to explore and to fill in that happening with as much
So I know
harmony or
I'm
aligned
seeing what you
things.
say.
And they're
Yeah.
intertwined. They are intertwined because in the end, if we bring things together, they also have a result. As in,
Okay.
you cannot separate them
Yeah.
in the requirement of happening. But in mindset, you can separate them. And if your mindset becomes just one, either just exploration or just target achievement,
Mm-hmm.
then you
Mm-hmm.
will take too much from the other side, and
Yeah.
your side won't even function. So if our mindset is just the game dynamic of getting from A to B versus populating with fullness and beauty or
Yeah.
expression or a line, okay, so in mindset, if you have just one, you're gonna starve the other and things won't make sense. And this applies also to the other one. If you have just, we're just playing, it's just for the beauty of it. If you get in that one, you will starve the other one in your perception, in your processing, in your presence, in your activation, and this one won't make sense. We're addressing the game one because this one is dominating now by far. If it was just too much exploration,
Mm-hmm.
then we would need to, there's the force of contracting and dilating.
Mm-hmm.
And if we contract too much, everything needs to get from A to B as fast as possible. Okay, we are starving the other side, but in starving the other side, we're starving this side because they are
So
connected.
I understand the reasons and the logic and the mechanism, but again, the question, how do you break through that? I mean,
You are,
how do you
it's,
keep yourself centered so that you can look at things differently?
Well, people usually think that by adding more of what they're doing gets them happy or gets them fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
versus it gets you fulfilled doing the things which you're missing. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
too much target oriented, just play a little and explore. And this will really also give meaning to your achievements.
Okay.
Not getting more achievements will get you being more obsessed with getting from A to B will make you
Mm-hmm.
stable or centered. So if you see that you're too much in getting from A to B because of circumstance, doesn't matter, or inner drive, you need to balance it with the other aspect of play and exploration. If you're just playing and
That's that's a
exploring,
nice, fun reply. Yeah, yeah.
if you're just playing and exploring, maybe you
Add
should
some
also,
targets to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
add some, okay, there are some
So
results to it.
we are going back to balance, right? Too much water, use less. Little water, add more. So I like that we're keeping the logic and the sanity of balance, you know. Um, cool. So these were some of my questions going through the article again for everybody. The full article is accessible on themathofbeing.com. But we also have questions from our friends because this is the first time we do the conversation and we film the conversation. Uh, we've asked some of our friends that read the article to ask some questions. And we're hoping in time, if you guys have questions and if you see this, you can comment on the blog in the article sections, or you can send us an email with your questions, or why not? You can comment on the video because we will go through the questions and reply. Actually, more Meta than me. I will reply to administrative questions if you have them. Um, and do keep in mind that we shoot with a distance between when we post the articles. There's going to be a time for you to read them, and then we record. But what I would like to do as we move towards closing this is to ask you some questions from friends. It actually says on my paper questions from friends. And thank you for those. To our friends, you know who you are. Um, How does non transactional genuine help look like today? And how does it operate at a large scale? Can it exist beyond small, intimate contexts? Can you scale help?
Uh, in today's configuration or situation, at a scale, actual genuine help is all hidden because
But it does
helping
exist. Does it
when
exist and it
something
is
needs
hidden, or it's completely.
well when something hides, usually it does exist but a little less than it's required because it doesn't
Mhm.
have a stage.
Yeah, okay. Can you scale that?
Well, this is how it's happening at scale because intimacy in real intimacy today, people don't need to hide it.
And I assume they don't, right? So.
As in, if we're actually referring to intimacy, not posturing intimacy, people are actually, that's another game of,
Yeah, no, no,
okay,
we're not going in there.
that. So if two people are actually intimate with each other, they don't need to hide their help because they don't need to protect themselves by how the other receives the help or offers the help. So it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to stay hidden. So in scale, help is hidden. because it's not seemed as the efficient model,
Mm-hmm.
because it
Okay.
doesn't have the biggest return rate, because by
Yeah.
itself it's not a return oriented phenomenon.
So the reply to the question is, if I understand correctly, yes, help does exist beyond small, intimate connections, but it does exist on a large scale, but it's hidden. It's not that obvious.
Yes, because it's not deemed as the right thing to do. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
the system doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
declare
It
it
doesn't call
in, call
help
it out, it's not good to help,
help.
but the
Yeah.
everything which it draws around helping is not the efficient way of being.
Yeah. It does exist. I would add my own opinion to it because you see it so much on so many levels and in so many contexts. And there's so many organizations that genuinely do that. So it does exist. It does have an impact. Um, it does a measure, not like that. Maybe sometimes on a big scale, it's just easier to clarify because you just give without actually hoping to get back, which is very different on an intimate level. If you go to a, for example, NGO that works with children or works, in war zones, they give so much, not expecting to get back because that's not the purpose. So,
They
although we
give,
started a bit grim, we
no,
started a
they
bit grim,
give,
but
just
help exists. Yeah,
help exists, but it's not them, those who help even at scale, as in the systems,
yeah,
not which are in the popular attention.
yeah, I agree with you. It's rather
So
a
if we
personal,
just
yeah,
popularize the get as much, extract as much as possible, then by
yeah,
default, it's not that help doesn't exist, but it has a smaller
yeah.
microphone
The,
than it should.
yeah, the spotlight is really not about
Yes.
bringing, in front the global service that help does, but rather saying that you should be competitive and you should win something from it because of all this capitalization that has happened in the many, many past years. Um, Good. Another question. How much of the reluctance to ask for help is actual internal rather than systemic, like shame, inferiority complex, attachment patterns, etc.? How much is naturally from you and how much is a habit of what society has formed around you?
I think that once you start to make this clear separation between the inside and the outside, you start
Hmm.
making confused assessments.
How so?
Let's say I have an inferiority complex, right?
Okay.
But it just appeared, or did I have external experiences
Factors.
which
Yeah.
punished me from being in certain ways? So things emerge inside of us, but it's all connected. Because, for example, a radical example, if I were to be alone on Mars, other things would emerge in me rather than if I am in a city or with two people. And so the emerging part with the exterior part, they go together. And we can see this very simple when we are in our job, or we are on the seaside, or we are in our bedroom reading a book, that different things emerge from us. But all the things which emerge in all situations are still our interior things.
But what you say is context. shapes the way you ask for help. But
No, I don't put a cause as in one it generates the other. I think that they go together simultaneously. I'm not making the who's the chicken and who's the egg.
mhm,
I'm not saying that your interior is shaping the world or the exterior is shaping you. I'm saying that it's more like
yeah.
a synchronicity, more like a quantum happening rather than a linear cause happening in say which one was first. That wasn't that one was first and one was
So
second.
it's not just internal, it's a mixture of things that you cannot just say it's only internal or only external, but rather a mix of some of factors.
Yes, a mix of
Hmm.
factors, but from my opinion regarding regarding our subject with helping, it's not so relevant if it's internal or external. If it's if we're
It's the
capable of doing
result.
it
Yeah.
or of not. So
Yeah.
now see,
Yeah.
there's the
Yeah. Yeah.
aspect of me which says that in this aspect the result is more important than the highly
Yeah.
exploration
Makes
part of
sense.
is it internal or external. So these
Makes
aspects
sense.
always
Yeah.
go together. So we have to have
Yep.
developed the ability to have a dance between the result and the play, not just it's either about only about result or either about the play. Like
Hmm.
in education, it's important to have also your mother and your father. It's not, oh, to be like my father is good, to be like my
Yeah,
mother
yeah,
is
yeah.
bad.
Makes sense. Um, if we take the field of mental health, for example, which is a big theme today, do they help? Because that is something that evolves around people asking for help. Which are the ones that help? Which are the ones that don't? This is a controversial subject, by the way, but I want to go into some a bit of controversy. So let's talk about mental health programs. Do they actually help?
Taking back to our water plant, our example with the
Yeah,
plant. If what it needs is water, give it water. If what it
yeah,
needs is air, give it air, as in what it's lacking. If what it needs is pressure, give it pressure.
yeah.
So if you give it any of it when another thing is what's required, it doesn't work. By itself, it does work if it's done good, mental health, but if it's given mental health programs, but if it's offered and given where it's that type of action or phenomenon or service, it's not what
Hmm.
that plant is missing, then it doesn't help. But because the narrative pushes you grow, 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 each service pushes itself way more than
It
it's
should, nor necessary.
required. Yes.
Yeah.
So if mental health programs appear where it's their cue, like, hey,
Yeah.
mental program, this is your cue, this situation needs a opening of the psychological matrix system of an individual, yes, you go and do that. But if he just needs to go out and run a little and take some air, do that. So don't
Yeah.
push. Don't, it's not about pushing. This is always what solves. And the
Yeah.
pushing is what creates these decalibrations because if everyone pushes his product or his service as much as possible, that product and that service will appear in many more situations than where it's actually appropriate for it to be or needed.
Hmm.
So if everybody is optimizing for growth and the most, it will push itself where it's not for it to push. It may have a growth in profit, but it will destabilize the
Yeah.
service is not actually good.
I feel that this is a very complex conversation about mental health programs. Um, so maybe we can do one of these conversations separately at a time. I love that you're inviting to balance. And, we have a saying in our country, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That doesn't mean leave it to chance. It just means that if you find the correct and the right, not correct is a bit stiff, but if you find the right program to kick you forward and help you, then it helps, obviously. Duh. If you don't find the correct one, it doesn't help. So it's still about finding the balance, but I think always just being aware if that is something good for you, right? You still rely a lot on the personal assessment that you do on the things that you go through. So just be vigilant. Maybe the invitation is to be vigilant, not fully immersed or believe what's going on there. Always have like a second opinion and question about the things that are going on. And if you feel that they help, then it's great. If you don't feel that they help or that something is not right, then investigate further and take some actions. This is me translating
I would add
what you
something
just
to
said.
this. This, what you just said, addresses the consumer,
Obviously.
obviously, but the provider should also be addressed because the provider, in many cases, and we all had experiences,
Mhm.
gets its authority, inner authority, by, oh, but because I have the correct version. So I don't need to
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
process what's happening. So the
Yeah, I
provider
understand. Makes sense.
has a very, very big responsibility, not just in mental health programs, to
Yeah.
actually make a present assessment rather than no, but what I'm doing is the right thing because this is, this method which I have, this always works. But that's
Yeah.
the method which works is the one which is present to make the actual assessment with the appropriate means, tools, and knowledge.
Hmm.
It's not
Yeah, yeah. Makes
a
sense.
method written on paper which is static. You do this. If it's
Yeah.
not embodied, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. Makes sense. Um, we're coming quite close to the end of the conversations. I have just a couple of more questions. Um, One of them is going back to scoring and indexation, monetization, gamification. The question is the system really reshaping us, or is it just giving our inner primitive self a shiny new way to climb the social ladder? We've been obsessed with status and visibility in our tribes for ages. Did the digital age create this? Or is it just giving an old instinct a megaphone?
Obviously, it didn't create this.
Uh huh.
And if you take people and have a genuine, honest conversation with them and get past the information with which it's flooded, many
Hmm.
of them will express that they're not interested in status in that way, as in predominantly in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
status. Because many people, they actually want to live also some other things. Just if we give to the player the role of the status, we have
Yeah.
character 8, status. We give him the biggest megaphone ever because of digital, and we make it almost impossible to live if you are not obsessed with feeding the status play game, then that's where the problem amplifies. So we're having now a big
Hmm.
spike in which many people they don't naturally feel fulfilled by playing the status game, but they need to play the
Uh-huh.
status game a lot more than it's natural for them, because otherwise they don't have actual means to survive. As in,
Yeah,
status
I know
game
what you
means
mean.
also marketing. It's so there are
Yeah.
many domains which one now needs to do, because otherwise he doesn't survive. So we are forced in feeding
Yes.
the player the configuration of the status game a lot
Yes.
more
Yes.
than it actually keeps us functioning.
Yes. That's
And
true.
not all everybody is supposed to have this
Play
big
the same game.
and this
Yeah.
much big part or percentage in let's play the status. In the end, you want the doctor to be good at doctoring. You don't
Yeah,
want
I
to
know what
be.
you
And if we everybody is forced to play this so much, the quality of all other aspects decreases. And
yeah.
there it does need, as in any organism, any mix of cells, does need to have cells which uh, become experts or specialize on the status game. But
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you make
Makes
all
sense.
cells special have to play the status game, you will see lacks and holes in the functionality of other
Yeah. And there's
processes.
no room for something else. And you are right. Society is really at this stage not really built for being able to incorporate or offer a form of life to people that are different than just going for the highest score or for the top of the mountain. So,
It's not
yeah,
able
we should. I'm gonna take
to
some notes
the-
and just ask
it's
to
not
create at one
able
point.
to accommodate or to host individuals which are not obsessed with improving exposure.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yep.
As in, if you don't take each person, if he doesn't take time to actually time and energy to put in exposing himself and presenting
Yes.
himself, he
Mm.
cannot survive. But if he takes
Yeah.
too much time in doing that, and some cells, some configurations need to not do that because the nature
Yes.
of their roles and jobs imply things which are way more complex than exposure.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, Good. Last question related to health. Um, when was the last time you personally asked for help and what happened?
Last time I asked for help, I was denied.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is that the individual, the person who I asked help from, he didn't, he wasn't present to actually hear what my situation is, and he judged it based on how he functions. So he took copy paste
Mm-hmm.
on how he functions and says, oh, in my model of being, if I'm in this situation, him,
I would do
uh,
that.
that I would do
Yeah.
that. But that's again not being present to serve the function. And
Like to actually give the help where
yes,
it's required and not how you
and how
think
it's
that it's
required
required.
based on what you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
interacting
yeah.
with. If you just make surface judgments, copy paste judgments, oh, this is this case, okay, but you're
Yeah.
not there to treat the situation how it is. Yeah, your
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
assessment
yeah.
is off. It's totally off.
It's I feel that that's really 90% of the situations of when you
Yes,
ask for help. And one of the sides of asking for help is that you sometimes don't really get what you need to get, but you rather get what somebody else or the person you ask for help things that you do. It's also when you're very proactive in jumping to serving somebody and giving help to somebody. Um, and you
But
don't actually look at the situation and don't actually provide the help that is required, but rather the one that you feel makes the situation function better, or that person's life better, when it's not necessarily what they need. That is a very complex thing, and it also crosses into knowing the boundaries, and knowing that your person cannot be projected onto somebody else's person, and what you need is not necessarily something that somebody else needs. Also a big topic for topic, not topping, for another conversation. I'm sorry you did not get the help though. I'm smiling because I know the situation, not because
w-
I'm a sociopath.
one thing is that there are individuals who actually help and take their time to be present, but they are
Hmm.
not, they are deemed as the fools of this era.
Yeah, I
Because,
know, I
oh,
know,
why
I know.
would you do that? Because you can just do it fast, give this, and it's good enough.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But this is really like, I took a lot of notes, which is why I'm also moving my papers, because I found some really great uh, topics to have conversations on. Good. The last two things. One is, if we are to have an assignment or something to practice from today's conversation or topic, what is an assignment or a thing to think about that you would give to people? What would you ask us to do or
I
to
think
practice?
we come back to the aspect or the thing which we already addressed. If you are doing something, the answer to your if it's not fulfilling you, the answer to fulfilling yourself is not doing more of that, but doing in a way the opposite of that. So if
Mm-hmm.
you are too much goal oriented, you should insert some play and exploration. If you are too much play and exploration focused, you should insert some pointed driven actions.
That's a nice exercise. Thank you. Like, to just create a little bit of balance and perspective. Thank you. That's a very nice exercise. Um, Good. And I really want to close this in a fun way, because I don't want everything to be related to the articles, or just, stimulate our creativity and fun. But it's also going to be question based. I have a final question to you, the fun question of the day, which is, if you would be a word, what word would you be and why?
Paradox,
Paradox. Why?
because paradox is the is a lot of things, but paradox is the ability to hold more truths at the same time without needing to collapse any of them.
That's incredible. That's a good word. I don't think I would know how to answer to this question. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, this has been the first episode of The Math of Being. You guys, I hope you like it. Again, I hope it finds you in a time of need. I hope you find this space safe and you find inspiration into what we're doing. If you have things that you want us to debrief, Mircha, or talk about, please let us know in the comments, or send us an email, or put some comments on the blog. I hope you had fun. Mircha, I hope you had fun. I
Always a
did have
pleasure.
fun.
Even if it's the first time, I'm gonna say it's always a pleasure.
um, And yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye and have a nice Sunday, you guys. It has been a great Sunday for us. And see you very, very soon.